friends, and welcome back to another episode of Joypad Podcast. I had to think about it a little bit there. This week, I'm joined by Mr. Fleming and Mr. Tom. Unfortunately, Mr. Pinto has things and stuff that he needs to do, so he is not here to join us. We can all take a moment and reflect on that, and hopefully he'll be here next time.
Light a candle. Moment
exactly.
of silence.
Pour one out. One of those.
And now the
anyway,
moment's gone.
We're going to do things a little bit different this week. I hope it's okay. I'm going to talk about, Megan, how are you doing? Megan, what are you drinking? And Megan, what are you playing? There, that's out of the way. I'm great. Thanks for asking. As always, I'm drinking some leaf water. And what am I playing? I'm not playing a ton. I actually just finished what did I finish? The Last of Us remake. And it prompted me to install The Last of Us Part 2. I don't know how I feel about playing that again. Not because I didn't enjoy it, but because my heart hurts and I still haven't fully recovered from the game. So we'll see. And then I've been continuing through Grounded with my fiance. That's been a lot of fun. It's actually pretty difficult. I think it would be a nice group game for us to play at some point. But that's about it for me as far as games are concerned. Mr. Tom, how are you? What are you drinking and what have you been playing? Maybe Madden.
I thought you were going to say maybe meth. I've never played that game and I don't intend to.
Okay. Fair.
Yeah, it's been Madden. Honestly, that's probably the game I've played the most. I have slipped into that brain numb play game territory.
Yep.
Which just seems like the season for that right now. So that's fine. My team's absurd right now, so I was kind of reveling in that for a while. And it's still a little bit fun to play with, as long as I'm not doing anything over the top. Although they did fix the bugs in Face of the Franchise that I was running into, and some of the other game-breaking bugs. It only took them 2 months, but I'm glad they're fixed at least. And honestly, looking at my little thing, I think I've played almost 60 some odd hours of Madden. So for what it's worth, I can always say I get my money out of that game, even if it's a shitty game.
Because you'll play it forever.
Yeah, until the next one.
Exactly. It's perfect.
So, the only other game I can think of that we played was this past weekend. Pinto, Fleming, and I got together and we played Gloomhaven for a little bit.
Oh, nice.
So we played through a couple different rooms. Fleming, I'm not sure what you thought of the game.
Was that just last weekend?
Yeah, it feels like 8 years ago, doesn't it?
Oh my god, yes, it does. Wow, you said it, I was like, wasn't that 2 weeks ago? I couldn't remember, but no, you're right. It was this past weekend. It was on Saturday because I raced on Sunday, right? I think that's what happened.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll jump in quick about my thoughts on Gloomhaven, if you don't mind. I thought it was pretty good. I think there's the two things I don't want to say I disliked, because I actually really liked the game overall. The two things I struggled with was understanding the characters and best way to go about things. That's the first thing I'd say. And the second would be, I imagine the game is a lot easier as a individual than as a team, because if you think of Final Fantasy Tactics, because that's basically how the game plays, right? To give anyone who might know that game an idea, you can plan combos to some degree. Okay, I'm going to use this guy to attack him. My expectation is it will take him down to half of his life, and then I'll use my other character to finish him off before he can use his big spell. And it got a little bit weird where I was I'm going to choose these cards because that's my intention to kill this character. And it was typically you, because you had two characters. You would kill the guy I was going to be able to do an attack on. Then it was okay, now all I can do is move. And then you're burning cards because you just use them for basic movement. And then it's like, okay, and now I have to rest because I used the cards and I need to get my cards back. Two things. One, I think it'd be great if Megan, if you decided you wanted to play, so we all had one character. And the second I'd say is we probably need to do, when we have more time, more prep work. And like exactly how we'll use, like do it best. But honestly, the game was overall easy. Like it didn't seem difficult, though I know we were playing on like easy mode or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
I had it on like one of the easiest difficulties because otherwise it's brutally hard. And yes, I agree. I have played myself with 4 characters, and when you do that, you kind of just align in your own head like what each character is going to do. It moves a lot faster with more people though, because even though we were even getting into discussing what we're going to do before each round, where I would kind of say like, Fleming, I'm going to do this, and I think I'm going to go early like with this action. Does that work for you, or are you going to go for this guy? Like, that's kind of what we had to do. So it adds another dimension to it, and I feel like it does go faster because instead of being one person trying to pick 8 different actions, you're at least only one person picking 2 or 4 in my case actions. And I know the characters better, so I can kind of be like, okay, I want to save this card for later. I want to do this one to like run in and do damage and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I would like to play it again with you guys.
Yeah, I'm super interested in trying it out too. So next time I will have to join everyone.
Yeah. Join and have fun. The only other thing I've been playing, I got a new high score on my pinball machine today, so I'm kind of proud of that. And I definitely have pinball fever, and I'm looking at other machines, but I'm not going to get one until next year.
Yeah.
So, Fleming, I'll throw it to you. What are you eating, drinking, breathing, and how are you doing, hopefully breathing, and what have you been playing?
I am breathing, thank you. Yes, I am breathing a combination of, what is it, oxygen, nitrogen, I believe there's a little bit of helium in the air too, so stuff like that. I forget what else is in the air around us, but I know it's not just pure oxygen, because we would be really high if that was the case. But anyway, anyway, I am drinking water because that's all I had next to me, and I didn't go downstairs prior to this. I also have been trying to avoid like carbohydrate kind of excess, and I also need a run after this podcast, so I didn't want to drink a beer before it. And I actually don't even know what beers I have left, if I have anything at all, so I have to go look. But anyway, so just water for the night. And I, surprise, everyone, have a somewhat of a minor topic tonight. Because...
No, not allowed.
Okay, well, then I don't have a topic, but I do have 2 games that I played recently. The first, that it's important for this podcast. The first actually isn't really important at all, but I've been playing a lot of Age of Empires 2. I am playing that too much, I think, because that's like my game now. Really enjoy that game. You have to. Here's the thing: RTS will never go away for me. It's like, it's the. I'm trying to think of how to put it. Like, I love FPS games and I like multiplayer FPS games, but the kinds of people you play in those are just not fun to be around.
They're trash. They're trash.
Yeah, they're
Let's
trash.
be honest.
They're trash. But the RTS scene is usually a little bit friendlier, I think, generally, and also like, especially something like AoE 2, you don't have to be, and like a multiplayer, you don't have to be insanely good, right, to be decent at the game. So I'm just happy playing, like almost like a custom game and just doing my thing. I don't feel like playing 1v1, so I do that in the evening at times. But the other game I played, so I mentioned to you guys a couple weeks ago that I finished Spider-Man Remastered and that I was really considering going for 100%. And I did it. I actually have a 100% of Spider-Man, and I wanted to share some thoughts about it. Not so much about the game itself, but like talk about 100%ing a game. Because every time I've gone for it before, it becomes such a grind. And this game became such a grind. As soon as I was down to just like doing the random pop-up missions in all the districts, I was kind of like, I just want to be done as quick as possible. So like I was getting pretty good, and I was like figuring out how to win the battle as quickly as possible, but I don't know. Have you guys ever actually done 100% of a game and been like, yeah, that was a grind? Or is there games out there that like you do 100%, you're like, okay, I did 100% because it was kind of, I guess like it was built into the story, or it was built into like actually completing the game and getting the full content out of it?
Yeah, I mean, the only games I can think of are like old school JRPGs that didn't have an actual like 100% achievement system tied to them. So like Final Fantasy 6 of the world, or Final Fantasy, 7, Chrono Cross, games where like you could only get characters if you did certain things, which I kind of consider like 100% because I felt like I was missing out if I didn't get like those people. But I don't know. I used to hunt for like all those little special things that would be around in like 7, like Golden Chocobo, Knights of the Round, all that stuff. And beyond that, no, I've never really went for 100%. The closest I got was probably with the game you're talking about, which is Spider-Man. And I think there were just a couple trials, and my wife lost interest in the game, so I lost interest in the game, and the end.
Yeah, well, the trials were fine. Like I don't mind the Taskmaster guy because it was still story to some degree. Like yeah, it wasn't really like a story, but at least there was some cutscenes, right? And you actually fought him in like 2 battles or whatever. So that was fine. But for me, it was even past that. Like when you do the warehouses, like all the warehouses were different and they were fine too.
Yeah,
it's when it's actually like you're just swinging around and then like, over the police radio is like, there's a break-in at this jewelry store. And it's like, okay, I have to go to the same thing in a different part of the city and kick a bunch of guys' asses. And then a couple more guys will show up and I kick all their asses.
Make
and then
sure to punch them in the head 3 times.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, these guys now have, CTE because I gave them all concussions, like 6 of them. And now they're all going to die. But hey, I at least got another % on. So it was like the last 10%, I think, or so, somewhere right around there, maybe the last 15%, where I was like, this is such a grind, I don't want to do it anymore. But I was the one nice thing I'll say though, to the point of like a JRPG, is that I appreciated that fact that if I did, let's say 5 in one night, because they didn't take too long, they were like 5 minutes each, but it adds up. The fact that every time I saved, typically it was like, okay, I'm at 95%. I'm at 96% after 2 days. I'm at 97. And it got closer and closer. Like, so it was easy for me to keep track of whether or not I was getting close to 100, like close to that 100% of the game being done.
Tangible progress.
Yeah, I liked that versus like with something like a JRPG, it's like, oh, I didn't know Knights of the Round is in the game if I do all these things, or I didn't know if I do it this way, I can get more content or a cutscene I didn't get. So that I appreciated.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, Megan, I don't know if you have any experiences with the 100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't necessarily go out and seek like 100% in games. It's just like we've talked about. It just becomes too much of a grind at some point. I know I did get pretty close with God of War on the PlayStation 4. But I didn't want to do it anymore. You have to fight like the Valkyries and things like that, and I didn't care. There are a few games I have, partially because it was kind of worked into the story for some. Others you did have to do a little bit of digging, but as Pinto will tell everyone, like I am that pain in the ass gamer who like looks in every nook and cranny. So I really don't care when it comes to something like that. Like Life is Strange, the first one, I have 100% on that. Just from like discovering where to take all of the photos. There are a lot of like your kind of walk around, more of a movie than a game experience. Like I think the other is Virginia, which was a super short indie game where you're a detective trying to solve a crime. What Remains of Edith Finch. I highly recommend that game, but it's kind of, again, same thing, worked into the actual story. If you do certain things while you're uncovering the secrets of the family, you can easily 100% the game. So I have a few that I've done it, but it's mostly because it was easily worked into the story. The only one that isn't would be Shenmue, the port to the PlayStation 4. That one I was able to 100%. That's a little bit more involved, but it's not super difficult. But I really don't go out of my way to achieve it unless it's pretty simple, or I'm really into it, or I happen upon it. But I don't care as much. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But
no, I feel the same way because I feel like it's a fake reward.
Yeah.
It kind of says like, hey, good for you. You got 100%. You did everything. You've milked this game dry.
You spent 200 hours.
Well, I've spent that many hours on games and not gotten 100%. I mean, like, look at Madden. No one's going to give me a trophy for all the hours I put into Madden or all my restarts and crap.
Is there a way to get 100% in Madden? Like,
there are achievements in Madden, believe it or not, even on PC.
Yeah, but achievements are not the same to me as, like, game content. Like,
I agree.
In the Forest, for example, because we've used that one a lot, so anyone that listens to this podcast probably knows what I'm talking about. But in the game The Forest, right, you are able to eat animals that you've killed, like the meat from them. You're able to eat humans and do cannibalism, and you're able to eat
cannibalism.
Yeah, to do cannibalism, and you can eat like vegetables and mushrooms and snacks, like there's protein snacks kind of thing that you'd find or whatever. You can eat all those things. One of the objectives, or one of the achievements, not objectives, one of the achievements in the game is called, I think it's either vegetarian, I think it's called vegetarianism or veganism. It's something like that, where you don't eat any meat, which is one of the few ways to recover HP. You only eat the vegetables and stuff you find or whatever. You cannot eat other stuff, and you have to actually complete the game, never eating a piece of meat. And
what
like,
a stupid achievement.
That is, yeah. The game itself, I think, even if you rush it, is probably somewhere in the realm of 10 hours to 15 hours of playtime, probably. I know there's like people that like speed run, and that's a separate thing.
Vegan.
Yeah, vegan. Okay, it's called vegan. Yeah, and it's just
play
like
through the entire game without killing or eating animals, alone in single player or together in multiplayer.
Yeah, it's like I can't imagine doing that. Like, it just sounds so difficult to actually do.
There's someone out there doing it for shiggles. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
We have a friend who loves to get 100% achievements through Steam, and I know he spends countless hours trying to get that done. I spend countless hours trying to get even just the in-game stuff done, and I didn't get all the achievements for Spider-Man. I just got all the in-game percent, storyline.
Oh, gotcha.
So like, it's just, I don't understand why people would go for achievements. It just sounds like the worst possible grind.
Dave, I'm sorry, I don't get it. I'm totally with you. Like, so it's, I mean, even with Spider-Man, I think I kind of let it go at like 95% or 90% or something. I think we bought, because we got the game while the DLCs were still coming out. We bought the third DLC and never played through it. But I was very close to 100% on the main game and 2 primary first DLCs. So, I just see it as a number. I mean, it's like age, except in some very specific circumstances. It's just a number. It doesn't mean anything. You're still capable of doing whatever you're capable of doing. And your enjoyment is not tied to that number.
Amen. I can't. So I was thinking, as I was like planning to talk about this, I was thinking like, have I 100% any other game ever? And like, unless it was something super short where it had, a storyline and you get all the achievements. For example, if we want to talk about achievements too, I can't think of another game I've ever even gotten close. Like, I'm sure if I look at games that I have 1,000+ hours on, like Counter-Strike, if there's achievements for that, unless they were all easy to get, in the course of playing the game, I probably never got them. I'm gonna have to look now because I really want to know.
I mean, the only game I have found fun achievement hunting is Crusader Kings 3, because it gives you goals in an otherwise super open sandboxy concept. So like you have to play as specific houses or countries or something and do, like, for example, have the Reconquista as Spain and kick the Muslims out of Spain and unite Catholicism in the land. And there's like a historical goal tied to that. So that's kind of fun. That is probably the extent of where I've been like, hey, cool achievements, you know.
So I went and looked because I had to go look. So Counter-Strike, CS:GO. I do not have all the achievements, and I'm surprised by some of the achievements I don't have. But I have nearly 4,000 hours of CS:GO in my life. Which, granted, the game's been out for 10 years, but I haven't played in like 3. So I played a lot of hours of CS:GO, and some of them I'm not surprised that I don't have, like. Winning 100 rounds on a map known as Italy. I never played on Italy really, and like Office. I never played on a map called Office, like at all. But like even some of these other ones are like insanely difficult. So one of them is kill 5 enemies with the bomb you have planted. That means that 5 people needed 5 counter-terrorists needed to stick around the bomb and all die
and
for you to get that and not defuse it for you to get that achievement. And there's another one that's like kill 3 enemies with a single grenade, like HE grenade. That's also incredibly difficult because grenades in that game only do like 75 to 90 HP if it's right in front of their face. So they have to be wounded a little bit. So like, I mean, that game's not a game I think anyone goes for achievements, but it's just really interesting the kind of stuff that Steam put in there.
Yeah, and I mean, games like Call of Duty, which, oh my god, Call of Duty came out today. I don't care. There's achievements that I just, like, will never do in games. Like, I'm looking at the achievements for Crusader Kings, and there's, like, as Hastings of Montague in 867, hold any kingdom to your title. Like, you have to start with that to do that one. And then there's other ones. I had one up, and then I lost it. But, you know, they're very specific, like create a cadet branch of your dynasty. Well, normally if you're creating a game, you start as the dynasty head. So there are ways to play as not the dynasty head, but I've just never had a reason to do that, kind of thing. But yeah, I know the Call of Duties of the world have like snipe a man from 5,000 feet away and dance on his grave or, whatever. And they're just like weird challengey ones. Although I think the ones you listed for CS:GO are even more challenging.
Yeah, I just not a game that you're supposed to do it, in my opinion. It doesn't make sense at all.
Achievements are mostly forced in games. They're either tied to major milestones that you're going to hit anyway, or they're tied to obscurity, or they are tied to just bizarre things. Like the number one thing I remember is the Greg Jennings one, which was based on a meme in Madden, where it was like catch a X amount of yards touchdown pass with Greg Jennings and run it in. It was called Put the Team on My Backs. It was based on the guy that had broken leg Greg Jennings catch a pass and go like 80 yards at 2 miles an hour for a touchdown. Like, that doesn't mean anything outside of the context of, oh, it's a meme that you're replicating, Hey, gamers like memes. I don't know.
I think it also doesn't help that Steam doesn't make it... Like, they do the pop-ups to say you've gotten an achievement, which I think actually you can turn off, if I remember right. But probably. Even then, like, the achievements don't, like, show up really anywhere without going and, like, seeking them out. Do you even get, like... I never understood the point of like those cards or whatever on Steam profiles.
Oh, yeah,
and stuff. Do you get more? Do you guys know if you get more of those if you do the achievements or something? Is that why people do it?
It's normally for like time played. I think you do get. I think sometimes you do get like points for the achievements, like squared away in your Steam profile. I'm sorry if this is all already known to the children. There's like points, and you get points when you like buy a game too. like I have like a bajillion points, and like the only thing I can do with it, like I bought like an avatar border, so I have a shiny red animated thing going around my picture of a doctor with a pompadour.
Ooh.
I secretly send awards to people.
That's amazing.
No one has noticed, so that tells you how great the feature is.
What even does that mean? I didn't even know there were awards.
Yeah. So let me see. I know I've definitely sent some to Pinto.
Oh boy.
And he has not noticed whatsoever. Let me dive in. It's like in the point, like if you go to someone's profile, you'll see a little ribbon, and it's give this profile a community award. So nice. I've sent him the Clever Award, which is a raptor, and then a Fancy Pants Award. And you spend that digital currency on bullshit like that. At least that's what I do.
Let's be honest, it's a bullshit currency to begin with.
Oh, wow.
So be on the lookout, gentlemen.
Oh,
I will. Do any other games that you guys play get you like custom skins and stuff? Have you guys ever done that or dealt with that before?
Like a loot box kind of deal?
Yeah.
No, not really.
Okay.
I usually stay away from things like that.
Well, it's just, so I was looking because I was trying to, I remember with the cards that I mentioned, you can also just sell them, and like you get like between like, let's just say
5 cents.
Yeah, it's like 5 to 10 cents.
Oh,
but you know what? If you get enough cards, you can get a free game at some point, is how I look at it.
True.
But in that, CSGO, for example, has loot boxes. I was just looking because I was really like just kind of curious if I go back through and look at some of the stuff that I apparently still have that I never sold. And like, again, I've had the game since it came out. I've had boxes and stuff. A lot of the cases are starting to rise in cost. Like I've got one here that's over $1. They sell stickers during the tournaments, and a lot of those have gone up in price and are like $4, $5.50. Here's one for $5.50. Like it's pretty surprising that people are still buying these stickers. I never understood why they do it, but I have some stuff to sell. I got a game to get for free. Woo.
Well, there's a bunch of these like badges too, where like if you collect enough cards, you get experience and some magic title or something. I don't know. It's like a meta game of achievements where you get crap from a game and then you try to convince yourself that it gives you a real life achievement on Steam, and then you get more crap from that.
I just want to play the games, man. I don't understand why people spend so much on these things here. Like, I don't even have expensive stuff in here compared to some of the stuff I've seen people buy. They buy things for, $200 just because, like, oh, it's rare, I need to have it, or oh, I need to get all the achievements here, so I have a bigger e-peen or something. I honestly don't know.
It's all about the
That's
e-peen,
why I
man.
do it.
I guys, I have like 239,000 Steam points. What do I do with that?
For the lay people, as in me, how do you look at your Steam points? Like,
well, full disclosure, I tried to buy something, which is what made it happen.
Like, this is so weird to me. Like,
yeah, it's very odd. I still have like old Team Fortress 2 items too, which are worth very little. It looks like 15 cents for the original kind of new guns that they came out with. And then I look at the different hats, and I can't even sell them.
I found a points shop. All right, guys. So for all the people that are also confused, that are
following along at home,
that are still listening to this podcast, it's under store, and there's a place called Points Shop.
That makes sense.
Hell yeah!
And in here, I have 75,000 points. I didn't even know that.
Peasant.
I have 87,787.
Chump change, both of you.
I've spent a lot of them though. I just buy the stupid backgrounds and frames for fun.
Oh, you get them when you like buy games off of Steam and
Yeah.
stuff, right? Yeah, that's
so
right.
many dumb games. That's why.
Yeah, that's right. I don't have as many games, and I do like I'll often see a deal on a Slick Deals or some other deal website, and it's like 60% off compared to like if you bought it on Steam through like a humble bundle.
A humble bumble?
A humble bundle or something. That's where I'll get a lot of my games because I'm like, oh, it's so much cheaper. That's how I got Spider-Man. Spider-Man was $60 on Steam, and I think it might even still be. Versus if like I forget, I think I got it like maybe not from GOG, but somebody like that, and it was like $48.99. It was like 10, like it was 12 or so dollars off. It was a certain percentage, 15 maybe. And
you got the deal.
Yeah, it's a good deal. Hey, save some money on a game that I wasn't sure if I would really like or not, but knowing me and playing Spider-Man games, I'm usually loving them. So I was excited.
Speaking of, Miles Morales is supposed to be coming out on PC.
Yeah, it is. It's coming out in a couple
Ooh.
weeks. I think it's on my wish list.
You
Nice.
too can play 6 hours of an amazing game.
That's my concern. If it based on what you guys said, it's even shorter than the one that I just finished and 100%ed. And even doing that, I still think I have less than like 40 hours of playtime.
I think
It's a
they've
great
said
game,
though,
but
and Spider-Man 2 is still set for this coming year. As far as when, I don't know, but that's the word.
I appreciate you saying that because I had no idea.
It's not bird tonight. Bird is not the word.
It is not.
Okay. Good to know.
Guys, I don't know what this is. I looked at like the things that you can buy for games that you have. It's throwing me a lot of games that I don't have. One of which is called Mr. Pepper. There's a nuke going off in Mr. Pepper. I don't know why Dr. Pepper's dropout cousin is having such a hard time in life, but I kind of want to know. Write us an email if you know Mr. Pepper and how we can help him out and avoid nuclear devastation.
I'm trying really hard not to buy the Trombone Hero game. I don't know the actual name of it, but
It's
you know
obviously
what I'm talking about.
You should do it and then report results.
I
if I'm
will.
being
I think
honest.
it'll be awful.
Do it for
and
science.
I'm so excited.
We should put that up for October as part of our spooky game playing collection.
There you go. Oh boy.
Well, anyway, I appreciate you guys telling me the 100% that you've done, and
Yeah.
I'm curious to know how many people out there are like, "Oh, you guys don't use the Steam points, or you guys don't get all the achievements, or
No.
you gotta collect. You gotta collect all the cards for every game, not sell them for 5
No,
cents
thank
like
you.
Fleming does. Good job, man.
I could spend 3,000 points of my 237,000 points on a random girl with a tank top tugging at the string.
Ooh.
That's hot.
I want to spend points to get that as my avatar.
Is the string a euphemism, sir?
Oh no, it's the actual string on her tank
It's a literal.
top. But she might use it as a euphemism later, the way she's giving me those eyes.
Oh no.
Meanwhile, if I go one page over, there's a literal eye floating in the air, looking all around, which is much cooler.
Yes, perfect.
And Joseph Stalin.
What?
You can buy an animated portrait of Joseph Stalin from, I think, Civilization.
Or
and he's just looking around. And that's fine. You can just be one of history's greatest monsters.
Wow.
And
Perfect.
pay points to have that and be that. I'm offended by that. Can I be honest?
Well, do they? I hate to tell you to do it, but do they have like Hitler?
I
Oh,
don't
no.
think so, because I think Stalin was actually a character in Civilization and Hitler was not.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if it's Civilization. I was thinking Hearts of Iron still in my head. Sorry. Yeah, in Hearts of Iron you play as Germany, but the leader of Germany in Hearts of Iron 4 obviously is Adolf Hitler.
Actually, this is from Strategic Mind Spectre of Communism, apparently.
Still though, it's weird they get you an animated Stalin. Okay.
Yeah, like, that's what your avatar is gonna be. Like, who's choosing that?
I don't know, man.
People are.
Maybe they're thinking of Rainbow Stalin. I would buy an animated Rainbow Stalin.
Oh, Rainbow Stalin's hilarious. That's a completely different... That's a different situation altogether.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm I'm looking through all these animated avatars now. They're about 50% titty anime girls.
Of course.
Isn't that what everybody wants?
Yeah, I mean, I bought 10 of them just now. There's also Mikhail Rosenthal, who is a fat man with a cigar. He's just grooving.
Perfect.
There's a sad robot. I'm sorry, it's a skeleton that looks like a robot. He's holding a bag of candy and he looks sad.
Oh, sad boy.
Oh, I have something else to say about achievements.
Ooh.
Because I remembered this and I had to double check that this is actually true. So like I said, I didn't get all the achievements for Spider-Man. I have no intention of doing that. However, something that really pisses me off about Steam games when they do this is hidden achievements. So like in Spider-Man, I have where's the number? I have 46 of 78 achievements, which is about 60%. And like it says some of them, and like I could go do some of these. Like for example, one of them is craft upgrades. I never did that. Like I just never bothered. And like another's like purchase all the suits. I use the same suit the whole time. But like those ones are easy enough. But then all the way at the bottom, it says plus 15, and it says 15 hidden achievements remaining. Details for each achievement will be revealed once unlocked. It's like, wait a minute. And I'm sure I could probably Google, and some guy has already done it and has it posted somewhere. But like, why are you hiding your people playing more? Like, I'm not going to play if I don't know what to do, if I've beaten the game and done everything else. So I feel like and this isn't just this game, because I've seen it before, I just can't think of any off the top of my head. They got to stop doing that, because it's like, if someone actually does want to try to get an achievement because it's a fun way to play the game, just tell them what they need to do so they can actually try to do it. So
I'm surprised there's that many, because normally those are tied to like story elements when they're hidden achievements.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, oh, we don't want to spoil it for you by saying, beat this boss or whatever, or this guy that's going to turn code on you or something. We just don't want to spoil that. And I get that.
Yeah.
But the rest of them are like, who cares?
But like I beat the whole game, so obviously everything should be revealed. So I get that point. That's a good point, Tom. But those you typically get by doing the story. So like if one of them was like, I don't know, save Mary Jane from a guy with a gun or something like that, it's like I could see why they wouldn't want to reveal that like moment or something like that, or one of the achievements is like stop Devil's Breath from going off or something like that, and you get that after you complete that part of the story. Like makes total sense that like they would hide that so you don't get spoiled. But any that are hidden should be related to the story. So what I would actually say they should do is say 15 hidden story achievements remaining. So that way I need to beat the whole story, and then I'll get these achievements unlocked.
Yeah, that'll be helpful. I think there are other, obviously, like you said, you're at the point where you have no more stories, so they're obviously just hidden goals.
Mm-hmm.
So there are other ones that are set up that way, but why? I couldn't tell you, because they're magic mystery goals that exist in the land of make-believe and are hidden behind the body of Jimmy Hoffa.
They could also be related to the DLCs, which I haven't bought yet. So
you haven't bought the DLC?
No, I didn't go through all that. I just bought the primary game and played that, because a lot of times like I hesitate to buy.
You're not at a real 100%.
I'm not. I know. But
wow.
But I those like the only reason I kept playing is just because I was so close to 100% after doing playing it for fun for so long. I was like, I'm just gonna do it. But I don't typically buy DLCs until I really know I like the game and like it's something that I'll continuously come back to. So something like this, I may never come back to it, or whatever. But
totally
something like Crusader Kings or EU4, like the Paradox games, I play them enough that like I could see myself buying DLCs for those.
Yeah. Crusader Kings, I think I bought I think there was a DLC pass, and I bought that, and no looking back. I'll replay it like every time there's a new DLC. It's kind of cool for games like that too, where you can kind of like step away and they do a big change with something like that. But for other games where the DLC is not as like game changing, you're kind of like, nah, I'll just like play it as is.
Did you buy
Spider-Man?
For the past, did you buy like the monthly ones that Paradox has now been trying to do?
No, I think I just bought like a more deluxe edition of the game when I bought it that included stuff. If I remember right, I might just be talking out of my ass. I don't really remember.
Well, I know that in Hearts of Iron at least, and probably even EU4, they have like subscriptions where like you get all the DLCs included, and it's only like $5 a month, but then you have a payment like to play a game in full versus like just buying it. Like I'd rather just know, okay, this is the cost of the game, this is the cost of the DLCs that I want. It might be a little bit more expensive in like the span of 3 months, but I don't want to run the risk of not paying, like having to pay a $5 monthly fee to do that consistently or to play the DLCs consistently. It just doesn't seem worth it to me.
Yeah, just like Photoshop, I am not into the idea of going on a payment plan for software as much as possible.
Absolutely.
I think all of that's horseshit. The only thing you should have a payment plan for is a loan on something.
No, man, you gotta have heated seats with the subscription now.
That's so dumb. Listen, my car has that. It shouldn't cost me a subscription to have the thing work.
Mm-hmm. Well, why are you paying...
I'll fight you, Tesla.
I mean, those are a little bit different versus like a video game where like you don't buy a physical product, right? Like I kind of get why they're trying to. It's much more established income, and then they can like...
It's profitable, that's it.
Yeah, and it's profitable, but they can like from an operational perspective, they can say, okay, we're making, $1,000 a month, and we're going to pay $800 out to a developer, and there we go. That's how it works, and that's how we're going to be able to pay it out.
Doesn't stop it being shitty for me.
Oh, absolutely. But I'm sure some people like those kind of ways, because like some people, like when I was reading about Hearts of Iron 4 DLCs, people were saying the best thing about that is like you can spend $15, play it like crazy for 3 months, and then cancel your subscription, and you got to enjoy the game full. Versus if you bought all the DLCs, especially on the Steam store prices,
they're very expensive.
It's like $200 to buy everything from Steam.
It's a good try before you buy option, at least.
Absolutely.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
Because I admittedly bought all the DLCs for that Warhammer 40K game that I was playing. It was like $100 for the DLCs, man.
Yeah.
It was a lot, and I think the base game is like $30-$40. So that says a lot. But I like the content that it added. Like, if you think about it like StarCraft, basically the DLCs add like, I don't know, 5 or 6 new races, which to me is pretty impressive. So I can kind of see the value there. So I feel like it was a decent value add there, but it's still a lot. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know how we get away from DLCs and loot boxes and battle passes being the wave of the future, but
well, it's because I think people are willing to spend $50, $60, $70 on games, but like a lot of people, I think even on this podcast we've talked about how $70 games are huge expenses, where if you can buy a $20 game and then you figure out, hey, I really like this, and they just keep releasing more content for it, and you're paying either a monthly or a by DLC cost, like that works out better for the developers, and can get a lot more people to try before you buy, or at least pay a little bit before you buy.
Yeah, well, that's why so many games are free to play with paid options, because they give you a taste. It's like drugs. Mm-hmm. They want to give you a taste and get you hooked.
Like Hearthstone, people spend a fortune on Hearthstone cards.
Hearthstone, Fortnite stuff. Overwatch now. The new Overwatch is free, and you can pay for the battle pass. Cosmetics just don't really have much appeal to me. Like, I'm kind of like, oh, that's cool. That's about it. I was thinking of one other that really stuck out in my mind, and I think I just lost it. But that subscription model, if it's for actual content and not just for like cosmetics on a battle pass, and it's significantly low enough or appropriately costed enough, I'm okay with that. Like Final Fantasy 14, I bought the base game, and anytime I feel like firing up, it's $15 a month. Back when I was playing those games a lot, that or Star Wars The Old Republic, those were basically the only games I was playing, and I was only paying $15 a month. So, relative to all the games that I buy now, and still only play Madden for the cost of $3.95, it was a deal, So, there is value in some of those. And when you're on a giant game like that, where they need all the server power to keep everyone together, and they're continuously developing new content that they're only, they're not charging you for unless it's an expansion, which gives you an even more giant bolus of content. I get it. Like, I'm cool with that. But for the battle pass, I'm like, I can look at regular Tracer.
Oh, I just thought of a topic, and I don't know how much I want to get into this because I feel like it could become a big thing. However, I'll mention it in brief. Maybe we'll talk about it more at length if there's thoughts, and feelings, and hopes and dreams and desires.
I have no thoughts, feelings, hopes, dreams, or desires. Go on.
Okay, well then I'm just gonna say my piece, and then we'll move on. But back in the day of the early 2000s, when internet became a thing, and you started having the ability to play against other people in like an RTS, for example. There was you would buy a game, say $50 or whatever the cost was. A game that I played a lot online was World in Conflict, if you know what that game is about. But it was an RTS, and the servers, even though you just had that base $50 cost, the multiplayer servers were owned and controlled by the company that you bought the game from, whatever that developer was. And then at some point, the developer shut down the servers because it was like, oh, this game's old. Why are we going to keep running these servers? There's no point. And this actually just happened recently with another game, but I can't remember it. Do you think that any multiplayer game is going to work towards that that subscription kind of method to play? Because I feel like there's a lot of games that they're not going to want to continue to pay for all of those, most likely a cloud-based solution, but it's expensive to buy that stuff from AWS or Microsoft or whoever. And yeah
I would say most of them already do, whether you realize it or not, because those Xbox Live, PlayStation Network, Switch Online, that's what that pays for. That's your dedicated server cost. So if you start paying more than that out of pocket, that's trouble. We should be very worried if that starts happening. But on a lot of PC games, I think that has fallen more into the community's lap, where you'll see like DayZ servers and stuff like that, because modern hardware is strong enough that a lot of people can run stuff out of their own house. Or through their own computer as like a server for like Dead by Daylight or something like that, or The Forest or Raft, or the different games that we've played.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of potential, and there are even people that run World of Warcraft servers at home, stuff like that, where they run their own instance of World of Warcraft.
I didn't know you could do that. I thought that the game was really locked down.
It's quote unquote illegal, and Blizzard doesn't want you to do it. But a lot of MMOs have private servers. Star Wars Galaxies is actually a pretty famous example. There's a client called SWG Emu, and there's at least 3 or 4 different big emulator communities that you can play on, and that have big groups of players on it. So, but these people, they will run instances of the MMO on home servers or leased servers, and that's the way it lives on, because those games are dead. Like Star Wars Galaxies is dead. So that's the only way you can play it. And if people had not saved all the code from that game, it would be impossible to play. That's what happened with The Matrix Online. The code is dead. It's in a vault somewhere in WB or Daybreak Studios, which used to be Sony Online Entertainment, somewhere in their coffers, and they won't release it. And the game that I paid $60 plus $15 a month for 2.5 or how many years? 4 years, I think. All that is gone, and no one can even revive it because nobody did a code scrape while it was still live. There's a little bit of like an emulator project, but you can't do combat and stuff.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's a very good question and an interesting one, because the question with digital content like that is, can you morally, ethically remove everything if someone has already paid for it?
Exactly. That's my thought about that too.
Yeah, there's actually a guy that I used to play The Matrix Online with who has gone on to become a librarian archivist of primarily old and obscure video games, and like that's what he does as his job. And he hunts these games down, and he is pushing for greater recognition and kind of legislation to protect the code that creates and enabled these games, because without that there's no record of it. So, you know, from the library perspective, you kind of want to preserve those different things, and that's the only way to do it. And unless you legislate it, companies are gonna not want to shell out the money to do anything with it. It's just gonna sit in a room.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than like a film archive.
Exactly. Oh God, and think of all the things that are in some of those film archives out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. The idea of data storage as a whole, but related to games, is really interesting, because there's games that we have that just no longer work. Speaking of World in Conflict, like I mentioned, I found my CD of that. I was like, oh, I wonder if I could play this, and I tried, and like I even tried to do like Windows run as like older versions of it and everything, and started looking into it, and it just doesn't run at all anymore. Maybe if I set up like an actual machine from that time period with Windows 98, I guess it probably was, maybe like ME or 2000 or so, somewhere right in that time frame is when this game came out, and like basically put myself back in that time, it would work. But like there's also sometimes, not that game, but there's other games later on that had like validation checks to like validate like a CD key or something, that like if they've locked down those servers, they no longer work. And it's like, well, now I can't play this game because you've shut down the ability to. Is there like bypasses or otherwise cracks or something to get past that? Probably. Yeah. But it's, to me, it's disappointing to know that someone who developed that game probably spent 18, 24 months working on it, and they weren't the only one, and now people can't even ever go back and play it. But I guess that's kind of the world we live in when we're in that, like I said, data world where things are just up and lost so easily now.
Yeah, and I do think eventually the archivists will win, and we'll start to get more kind of cached and kept around. Mm-hmm. But with data, it is a concern, because data corrupts over time. Those hard drives aren't going to last forever. So,
isn't there a group called like Archive Everything or something like that?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that, like, there might be something similar to what you're talking about, where their goal, though I'm sure they can't personally achieve it as like a nonprofit or whatever they are. Their goal is to see like everything we've ever created backed up, because there may be value in certain things that were created. Just interesting to think about.
Yeah, I mean, truly think about it like a library system, because that's what the library is. It's like try to archive every book you can in the Library of Congress. It might be a piece of crap book that was written by a piece of crap person, but you keep it around so that you have that perspective on file. You can check against it. Perspectives change over time too.
As a data hoarder, I am all for this. I have
likewise.
No, like especially like in like 2011 to 2015 ish. I loved the idea of like having just like everything backed up and created, and everyone should have access. Like I think there's a subreddit, like Data Hoarder, I think it's called, where they just like post like a random crap. Like here's the downloadable like a downloadable zip file that's updated every day by we use the Library of Congress, so I'm not sure that's there, but like the Library of Congress, and you can download this, and then it's 200 terabytes or something, but then you have everything they have there, so that if they die and everyone else dies, but you still have the data, you've preserved humanity's books or something. Like it's a really interesting concept. That's where I think I've heard of the like Archive Everything project, and like it's just really cool to think about. But I know that the amount of data that we've created in this world is insane, not just in games but in everything we've done. So
oh yeah, well it's very interesting. We talked about the Library of Congress, which I think is one of the biggest libraries on Earth, and there's a continued effort to basically catalog everything possible there and maintain a physical copy. But at one point, I remember looking around online, and I think you could kind of like download everything that was in the Library of Congress. And because so much of it is just published written word, it's not even that much. Like, it's not even that much data. So just, kind of, fascinating little things we think of there. But, keeping in mind, too, hard drives corrupt. So be careful, back up your data. I got a Backblaze account, probably within the last year because of that, because I just wanted to make sure I don't lose my stuff. I have lost stuff before.
Well, Tom, what it really comes down to is that this Christmas holiday season, we need to get you a NAS server set up where you can back up everything.
I do want to get one.
I can help you. I just set up one. It's not too bad. It's a lot of fun to think about all the stuff you can back up there. The only problem is that data redundancy calls for, I believe, four different backups at this point. One that's your general access, one other on site, one off site, and then one in the cloud. I think is now what they're talking about. Saying for full redundancy, you should have it all in those places. It's just an insane amount of data, but.
Offsite is just so goofy to coordinate.
Yeah.
If you're just a person,
Oh, yeah. Well, it'd be like you backing up to my house and I back up to your house.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Megan backs up to both of our houses, and then we're all back up.
That's how the series of tubes works. Well, that's fun. We've probably hit a good stopping point here, eh?
We have.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know how much data people have now, though.
So much.
For me, it's on so many different drives, it'd be hard to calculate.
On just this computer, I'm pretty sure I have 3 or 4 terabytes taken up.
That's nothing.
Let me see. 1.2 plus 2.4 plus 0.3. About 4 terabytes, I guess.
I've got about 10. It looks like if I did the math quick, and that's just on this computer. Obviously, I've got other machines.
I appreciate you saying this because I felt like I need more storage, and now I feel validated to go get more storage.
Oh, don't worry. We'll have more conversations offline after the podcast. But I feel like we've rambled on about data and all kinds of things for nearly an hour, and anyone that was listening probably fell asleep. Hopefully, tucked in. Cozy in bed.
Stay with us, data nerds. God damn it.
Yep. Wait, who started?
Well,
Megan, you started. I don't have to back us out. I was about to back us out of this.
I mean, by all means, man.
No. See you on. No. I'm muting. I'm muting now.
My boss does that too. Anyway, thank you for sticking with us, friends. I hope you enjoyed a kind of ramblecast, but not really. It was a ramblecast with a purpose. Hopefully next time you hear us, Mr. Pinto is back and we are all one group again. If not, whatever. Anyway, thanks again. If you would like to find where we are on the interwebs other than here, you can go to the www.joypadpod.com. You can find all of our links to socials and other areas there. If you want us to talk about anything specific, send us an email. That is at joypadpod@gmail.com. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it. We should hopefully have more stuff coming up on the YouTubes as we continue to play games together. We'll see what happens. But for now, thank you for joining us again. And Mr. Tom, do your thing.
The Joypad podcast endorses hoarding data, saving old games, and 100%ing whatever games you feel like, or not 100%ing whatever games you feel like.
Nerd.
But mostly we endorse staying joyful. Bye, everyone.
Bye.